baby. Welcome, everybody, to the premiere episode of the AutopStream. Joining us, as always, is myself, of course, but then you have the guy that we all hate to love, CP. CP, how you doing tonight?
Wait.
What?
We all going.
Sorry.
What happened?
Sorry. The website was open in the background, so that'll be fun. Hi.
Oh, wow. That's your one and only mistake that you're allowed.
Yep.
So, CP, how you doing tonight?
I've been better. I've started better.
Oh, man. Brian, I know the answer to the question, but how are you doing tonight?
Oh man, we're good. Let's finally get this show on the road, shall we?
Oh, man. All right, guys. Well, welcome to the AutopStream, where we dissect everything in the world of movies, horror, and other shit that we want to talk about. So these two knuckleheads will be joining me. These are going to be this is the permanent roster right here. We also have Lindsay Mother Mayhem, who will join us when she can, but she has a very difficult schedule right now because she's got a newborn. So hopefully we'll see her in the chat. She might be our chat guardian, but she hopefully will be here in some form. But this is the permanent roster right here, guys. First, a huge thanks to all of you guys that have been supportive of us over the past couple of months through all the transitions and everything that we've been through, for everybody hanging in there, cheering us on to get one of these shows going. And a huge shout out to one of those people, Woody Bowen, who is the guy that designs all of my t-shirts. He's actually been one of the biggest advocates for this show. He helped come up with the name. The name AutopStream was all his brainchild. He designed the heart logo. So huge thanks to Woody Bowen from all of us. And a huge thanks to all of you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first topic we're going to be talking about tonight, guys, was a big announcement that came out today out of Womp Stomp Films. That is the company that led by Vincent DeSanti, who came up with Never Hike Alone, which made a huge splash a couple years ago on YouTube. It's the Friday the 13th fan film. If you have not seen it, definitely treat yourself. Free to watch on YouTube right now. I think all of us were pretty big fans of it for the most part, right?
Yeah, that's affirmative. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So I actually did a ranking. I think I had it at number 4. So I mean, I really enjoyed Never Hike Alone for what it was. And Vincent dropped this morning that he is ramping up to do a follow-up to Never Hike Alone. It's going to be a 4-piece web series. The first episode being titled Never Hike in the Snow, which is finally going to have Jason in the snow, which is, I guess, is going to be a prequel chapter, which then he will fund the remaining 3 chapters, which will all be following up on Never Hike Alone. So there'll be like chapter 2, chapter 3, and a chapter 4, wrapping it all up. The Indiegogo campaign is live right now. It's in the description below. Last I checked, they already had 10,000 of the 50,000 they were asking for since 9 a.m., so not even not very long. People really are supportive of this. So
yeah.
So CP, what do you think about Never Hike in the Snow?
I don't know if you separated it right. The Never Hike in the Snow is the prequel, and everything else is sequels to Never Hike Alone. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
If I didn't convey it correctly, but yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, Never Hike in the Snow is a prequel, and then he wants to do 2, 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, 4 to Never Hike Alone. But yeah, it's exciting. If you watch the music video, he gives you a little extra insight into what Jason does when when he's not murdering stupid teens. He just kind of lounges by mom's head. And there's a lot of Easter eggs in that music video that I'm certain are on purpose. Knowing,
sure.
Yeah, knowing what whose hands this is in, I'm more than excited. Go ahead, take me on their journey, buddy. I don't care, just as long as he's the one doing it. I'm ready.
Brian, I'm not sure if you've been following it or if this is all news to you, but what's your thoughts on a prequel set in the snow with Jason Voorhees, and then 3 more chapters closing out the story of Never Hike Alone, which will bring back the lead character from Never Hike Alone, Kyle, I believe, and it'll also have Tom Matthews back for all 3 chapters.
Yeah, I think it's good news certainly for Friday fans. I mean, Never Hike Alone just kind of came out of the blue, really. But the fact of the matter is, it's a better Friday film than most Friday films. I recently put out this Horror League thing on my channel, and I was actually quite surprised because I went off averages. So I took the scores that I gave to all of the movies in each franchise and averaged them out, and I was actually quite surprised that Friday the 13th was rock bottom for me, even under Texas Chainsaw. Um, I know, right? The thing is, here's the thing: like, out of the two of those, I would watch Friday again in a heartbeat over Texas Chainsaw. I think Texas Chainsaw is better made from a production standpoint, but I don't have as much fun with it. Well, I don't have any fun with that. Whereas Friday, it kind of knows what it is. It knows it's like bottom of the barrel kind of stuff, but it plays to that as a strength.
Believe in the hype in the super chat, $10. Here's the new stream, guys. Wish Mother of All was here, but I know she'll be in the chat. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Definitely.
Sorry, Brian.
No, it's all right. But with regards to Never Hike in the Snow, I'm really looking forward to it. I think you add snow to movies. There's something cinematic about it. There's something about, like,
Dead of Winter.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes is from House of Flying Daggers, actually, and it's the end scene that takes place in the snow, and it was actually an accident that it happened because they just got caught in a blizzard and they just had to shape the film around it. But it just makes the ending of that film look beautifully cinematic, and then when you drop blood, when you contrast, the red of blood on snow, you can do some really nice visual stuff with it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do, because the guys who made Never Hike Alone clearly know how to shoot stuff. Unlike a lot of so-called big budget Hollywood kind of horror films.
What's funny is he used a different DP from my understanding, Renee Rivas, who did the Halloween short from last year.
Spirit of Haddonfield.
Yeah, it's my understanding that he was the DP for this, so he's had two separate director photographies fees, and still managed to get a really sexy look across. So I trust his eye with two separate tools, and he's still getting that look across.
Absolutely,
I'm down.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. See, I've heard little inklings. I've talked to Vincent here and there. I consider him a friend. We did the video where we debated the Friday the 13th, 1980 versus the 2009, which was fun. So I know he's an overworked guy, so I forgive him for his opinion on 2009. but yeah, Vincent's a good dude. There's some even Renee. He's a good dude as well. So a lot of cool people over there at Womp Stomp. Huge champion of what they're doing, and I hope that they get all the money in the world that they need. And even taking it a step further, I hope once this gets out of the courtrooms, I would love for Vince to get a knock on his door from Paramount or whoever the hell, Warner Brothers.
I think it's Warner at this stage, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, guys, if you want to support Never Hike in the Snow, first of all, if you haven't seen Never Hike Alone, treat yourself, and then you will want to support Never Hike in the Snow and the 3 chapters forward of Never Hike Alone. But the Indiegogo is the link is already in the video description, so definitely check that out. Moving on from that is the big movie that came out last weekend. Hustlers. No, I'm just kidding. It Chapter 2. Now, this was It from 2017 was obviously it became the highest grossing horror film of all time, if I'm not mistaken. Was a monster hit. No pun intended. It Chapter 2 is a movie that I was highly anticipating. I'm sure you guys were highly anticipating it as well. And I was also very worried because I know that the source material doesn't give them as many favorites as the first half of the story does with the kids. So comes out this past weekend. I have a lot of difficulty getting to the theater to see this thing, for one. I finally see it. And speaking strictly for myself, I was sorely, sorely disappointed in it. This might be my most disappointing film of the year thus far. It's competing pretty heavily with like Dark Phoenix and movies like that I had a lot of heart going into it. But It Chapter 2, Oh man, yeah. It chapter two, like I don't know. There's aspects of it that I enjoyed, like still seeing the story with Pennywise and seeing the town of Derry, and there's some great actors that was cast as these adults. There's some really good, you know, there's some good cinematography here and there where they're filming the town of Derry. I like the sequences, and I like how it seemed like a lot of that extra budget because they got more than double the budget this time around went into set design. So I liked all of that. To me, where it really fell apart was just the way that they decided to take the story and the way that the runtime felt so padded, especially in
Mm.
that second act where it was like wash, rinse, repeat of the same sequence where character goes to place from their past, finds something that reminds them of who they are, gets scared away by Pennywise, and they run away with a trinket from their youth, and then you go to the next character, and it happens like 6 times, and it
Mm.
just feels so repetitive. The humor, although I loved Bill Hader in this movie, and I thought he was the definite standout, it had the Halloween 2018 disease where it felt like they didn't know where to place humor. There was times where it was appropriate, and there was times where it was like I should not be laughing right now. And then overall, I was just mostly disappointed in how they decided to wrap things up. So I'll try not to go into spoilers, but the final form of it, the CGI that goes throughout the entire film, really, but even the third act and the climax, the way that they actually are able to defeat Pennywise, I thought was ridiculous. I walked out very frustrated. So, Brian, I know you had similar thoughts to me, but what was your level of anticipation walking into It Chapter 2 and kind of your overall thoughts with where it went right and where it went wrong?
Well, you pretty much just nailed it all, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
just like every single point. I don't disagree with a single thing. For me, like the biggest thing for me was like the the problem with the film isn't so much the humor, because the humor does work. It is actually funny. It's entertaining. The problem with it is that that wasn't there like that in the first film.
No.
Oh,
So
not to that degree, but there was
not to
humor
that
in it.
degree. Yeah, there was bits of humor, but the
Yeah.
horror was the emphasis was on the horror, was on
Mm.
the dark stuff, was
Yeah,
on the
the tone.
serious
Yeah.
nature of the story. So to me, it's like that's the tone I was expecting to
Yeah.
come back to, if not more so on that front, because we're now adults, so you don't have to tone it down or anything it's almost like they gave the scariest stuff to the kids, the full-on stuff to the kids, and then when they get to the adults, they turn it into comedy. So that shift in tone from one film to the next was so jarring to me that, yeah, the whole way through it, I'm just like, I shouldn't be laughing right now. It works because that's the intention, is to make you laugh, but I shouldn't be. This shouldn't be here. Now, if you'd have had this tone with the first one, if I'd have laughed like this with the first one and enjoyed it in that sense, I wouldn't be so irked by it, I don't
Yeah.
think. But yeah, I mean, and besides that, it does turn into a CGI mess at the end of the film. I remember the TV miniseries vaguely, and there were two things that stuck out in my memory of that. And one was a really creepy ass moment when some kid gets pulled into a drain pipe, which really freaked me out as a kid. And the other was that awful spider that like it was just. I remember the whole thing being really well made. I mean, I don't even remember. A lot of people say that the whole of the second part was a downturn. I don't remember it being. I only remember the very end when that spider.
Hmm.
I remember everything up to that point being really good, and that spider just blowing it, because it wasn't scary. It was a bad special effect. And here, yeah, they kind of tackle that. They even make some nods throughout the film to the fact that Stephen King is synonymous with crap endings, but
Hmm.
pointing that out doesn't excuse you from then doing it.
Yeah, that really annoyed me.
It's almost like he's begging the audience to just go with the fact that this story has a crap ending. Look, if you know it's got a crap ending, then change it for the movie.
Thank you.
So yeah, that kind of annoyed me. And when they pointed that out, when they even have Stephen King in there saying, "Yeah, maybe don't do endings that well. That almost to me kind of suggested that they were going to do something drastically different with
I
the
thought
end.
the same thing.
So that gave me hope, and that hope was dashed when we got the same crappy spider, but this time it was just a mess of CGI rather than a overgrown bad puppet. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I was entertained by it, but I was very, very disappointed given how strong that first one was.
Absolutely. And let me ask you one question, then I'm going to toss it over to CP. Um, and you nailed it, by the way, with the constant joke, because they mentioned it like 6 times about the McAvoy having a bad ending. It really hyped me up, thinking, oh, they're having fun with the audience and they're going to surprise us with something cool, and then they're like, oh, here's the same. Um, taking into account the technology that they had at their disposal in 1990, what do you prefer, or what do you think? Whoa,
What is that?
what do you?
Oh,
Really loud.
yeah. We're okay.
All right, taking into account the technology that they had at their disposal in 1990, and taking into account that they've had 30 years to learn their lessons, actually more than that because they had the book too, and all the technology and all the money in the world that they can do whatever they want, what frustrates you more? The spider in the ending of the original miniseries, or the spider in the ending of It Chapter 2 2019? I see it. Well,
2019. 2019.
I'm
Definitely.
with you. Okay. That's all I wanted to. I'm just making sure I wasn't on an island with that one. Yeah, I was the same way.
I mean,
Aaron
let's
Anderson,
not forget. Let's not forget that the 20 the the 1991 was made for TV.
yeah,
It at least has that excuse at its disposal. This is a big budget Hollywood movie, the second part of the highest grossing horror film of all time. There is no excuse to not have the resources to make something that at least looks good if you're going to go that route, if you're going to go the CGI route. So
Aaron
I'm with you, man.
Anderson with a $50 super chat, just because you guys are awesome and a fantastic way to end the week. Cheers. Thank you, Aaron.
Aaron, thank you so much. That is huge, man. That is a huge. Not only is it a huge help to all of our channels, and I will be splitting everything that we get tonight amongst the three of us. So thank you so much for that. That's a
Yes, thank you.
gigantic gesture. So yeah, you're the man, Aaron. Thank you so much. But yeah, I agree, Brian. I kind of said that in my review, and I was waiting for everybody to call me crazy that I was more dissatisfied with what we got in 2019 than I was with the spider that I think is abysmal in 1990. And I was like, I cannot believe I prefer the spider in 1990 to this half-assed excuse. And I'm of the opinion too, where like you always get the defense, especially from fans that are as dedicated as Kings, that they have to follow the source material. I'm of the opinion if it doesn't work on screen, then you should change it. There's no reason why you should handicap your film and say, well, I've got to follow the rules because Stephen King broke them. No. If you come up with an alternate form or some climax that works much better in a film medium, then you might still get the naysayers here and there that are they're King purists, but for the most part, everybody's going to go, oh, that was much better. I mean, how many times have we seen, like even Pet Cemetery earlier this year, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but they took a huge departure from the source material and went in a completely different direction. You telling me that with all the money at your disposal, 80 something million dollars, with 30 years to know that that spider did not work back then, that you can't do something different? That really, really, really pissed me off.
yeah.
CP.
Hey, I wish I could disagree with you guys so I'd have something to say, but you left nothing for me on the bone. So, yeah, I double everything both of you have just said. The problem I have with It Chapter 2 is you don't really need to see It Chapter 1 because everything in 2 just kind of takes you back and gives you each little character's little quirk and their thing. It's bloated, like you said. It could be 20 minutes shorter. Like if you're just going to repeat yourself with the same stuff that we've seen already, why not cut one out, one or two or something, or be tighter about it? Like it's just like I don't know. Like see, like at that point you're cutting something like So, all right, so I'll talk about something neither of you did discuss, and it kind of bothered me only for realism's sake. The black kid that was bullied in the 80s was basically the only black kid in town. When he got bullied, he didn't get so much as he just got beat up a lot. No verbal
No
abuse.
slurs.
Right. No N-bombs. However, in the beginning of It Chapter 2, you watch either Bill Burr or David Chappelle's most recent Netflix special. They'll give you an idea of just how big certain words are now for people in my field. The gay F-bomb is dropped like nothing in the beginning of It Chapter 2. And, you know, if you're going to show bullying in 2016, I think it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have it be that vivid, you know, do the same thing for 88. Like, it's not like we all know it was a bit different back then, and you know, don't try to sugarcoat that. But that's a complaint about one more than anything. But yeah, I double everything you guys have to say, and as somebody with a bad back, it could have been way shorter.
And just as a slight reversal on what you just said a few moments ago as well, the blessing of It Chapter 1 is that you don't actually need It Chapter 2. It is a pretty self-contained movie.
Yes, that is accurate.
I will probably, now that I've seen both of them and it's all done with, I probably will buy It Chapter 1 now on Blu-ray, and I will just watch that and treat that as an ending.
It's the same ending anyway.
One more thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask one more thing too. This was something I kind of got into a little bit hesitantly in my review because I wasn't sure how people were gonna take it, but a lot of people seem to agree. So I guess it's not as taboo as I thought. Did you guys pick up while watching the movie that they were portraying Richie as a closeted homosexual?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't. So for some reason that moved right past me. I the scene where Pennywise is kind of taunting him and he's like, "What about your secret? I know your secret." For some reason I thought there was going to be like a third act twist or something where like he actually came back to the town and screwed things up or accidentally released Pennywise or something. And then whenever I got out of the movie, I was talking to my dad and he had seen the movie a couple days prior and he's like, "Did you pick up that that one guy was I said, was he in the 1990 where him and Eddie a couple?" And I was like, "No, why?" And he's like, "Well, they were kind of making them like a couple in this one." And I was like, "No, they weren't." Like I was thinking back, I was like, I think he was just upset because his friend died.
Emily said it was borderline overt.
No, I never got the sense that they were a couple in the sense I don't think it was ever reciprocated by Eddie. I think that he always had a thing for Eddie, but was never allowed to convey it because of the times or whatever.
Am I alone in feeling like that the execution of that was very strange at how subtle and how like beneath the surface they kept it? Like,
well, it didn't really feel that subtle to me. So
right, yeah. Emily said it was overt, and again with the front loading the bully scene where it's a very homosexual friendly aware movie is the best way I can put it. That was one of the first thing out of Emily's mouth. She was like, "Man, the homosexual overtones," she said, were quite fierce. And I was like, "Yeah, all right, yeah."
Wow. Okay. Maybe I'm alone in that. I just thought after I
open yourself up to your feminine side, Cody.
Let it all in. But yeah, for whatever reason, that went totally over my head. Go ahead, Brian.
Something else that I found really disappointing, and again, like I said, I can't remember the miniseries, so I don't know how much they touched on this.
I remember it very well.
I do want to watch it again, though, now, actually, but something I found really disappointing and just was the origin of Pennywise.
Oh, God, yeah.
When I saw the trailers and we got that old hag who said that her grandfather was a clown in the circus, I thought that was going to be this like interesting backstory we were going to get.
So did I.
How he became some kind of demonic force, and then a meteor. It was just like, it was almost like a throwaway it's like a get out of jail free card. Like it's like I can't come up with a interesting backstory. So hey, Venom, it just feels weak. Like for a villain that is so strong and so creepy, it's just really weak as far as an origin story goes. And I, I I'd rather they'd have changed it or not even told us. Don't tell us. Why do we need to know where he comes from?
The miniseries doesn't even bother going into it.
We don't need to know. He's a
Yeah.
force of evil. Why do we need to know that he's actually an alien from some other place? It's just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in the miniseries, it basically just the most explanation you get is that the final form is a spider that it needs a physical form to feed. That's about all the explanation you get. And I was the same way when I saw the trailer. I was like, "Oh, that's going to be interesting. It's going to be this dude from what the 20s or something like that who was part of a circus, and it's actually going to be played by Skarsgård in
Mhm.
without makeup." And I was expecting all of that, but no, all we get is the one scene from the trailer where he's like, "Whoa," and that's it.
Uh,
Um, so yeah, I was disappointed in that as well. It was like any little explanation we got, it was just like, oh God, just and the exposition dump manner in which they gave us all those facts too. The little Mike acid trip in the woods with the Native Americans was just a weird sequence as well. But
yeah,
yeah. So
Blake just said the whole origin with the tribe scene was just miserable.
Mm.
And I got
yeah,
to agree. The moment they started bringing Native American culture stuff into it, it's like again, as it's one of those things that I do actually find quite disrespectful. It's like if you want to introduce a little bit of mysticism into a story, hey, those Native Americans have some wacky beliefs, don't they? And it's just like,
breathe this in, you'll have your answers.
yeah, yeah,
Oh man. Yep. Okay. So, needless to say, I mean, yeah, there's not a whole lot of breaking it up here. All three of us, to varying degrees, kind of agree, pretty much across the board. I
Boring.
gave it, I think, a 2.25 out of 5 because I was just sorely disappointed. Had huge expectations, and I have a lot more invested, I think, in the 1990 miniseries than you guys do. So, I just really had my heart broken by it. CP, what'd you give it out of 5?
A heavy 2.5, a light 3.
Okay,
yeah.
Brian.
Yeah, I gave it a light three because, like, don't miss. I was entertained by it. It did entertain me.
Yeah, yeah. The
It's
money's
just
well
not.
spent.
Yeah, it's just not what I wanted, given that first part.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, that wraps up our thoughts on it, Chapter 2, guys. Me and Brian both have reviews on our channel if you want to check out our full thoughts. Mine actually was probably the longest review I've ever done. I think it was like 45 minutes, so I had a lot to say. CP, did you and Emily drop anything regarding it?
So our vlog, which has a brief little thing of mostly Emily's thoughts about the movie. It's a vlog. It's not a review. It's us going to the theater and then a slight discussion at the end. It's it's tight. It's tight and vloggy. Don't call it a review, but if you go into it knowing that we're just messing around, it's up on my channel. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, so you guys have three avenues to get more thoughts if you want them, but that's basically a quick wrap up of our thoughts on It Chapter 2. Sorely disappointing.
Hmm.
Moving on from that is the other film that made a big splash this past week. The potential Oscar bait directed by the lead singer of Limp Bizkit, a little film called The Fanatic. So, this was a movie that, on paper, after I heard what this thing was, John Travolta playing someone on the spectrum who is a fanatic fan of Devon Sawa, written and directed by Fred Durst. I had to see this movie. And like I said in my review, I knew that this was either going to be the biggest surprise, like awesome thing that ever happened, or the biggest dumpster fire that could ever happen in 2019. And people, we might have anew the room because this thing was just, it's one of those levels of bad you have to see to believe. And it's We'll get into it. I think if you go into it knowing it's bad, I think that there's a certain amount of entertainment with how ridiculous the decisions that he made as a director or writer, the decisions that John Travolta made as an actor in this film, just over and over. It's like every bad decision you could have possibly made, they made and doubled down on. But we'll find out if CP and Brian agree. But I told CP to watch it. He checked it out. Brian got through all but the last 15 minutes or so, but we caught him up with where the story goes previous to this stream kicking off. So, CP, I'm going to let you start with this one. Have you heard of The Fanatic before I told you about it? What was your expectations? Did you have any at all? And what'd you think of it?
I can't talk long. I got to poo.
That's the first line of the film.
Yeah, no, I had heard of it, like because we cover box office every Monday. It had come up in news because I guess Travolta was pushing it, and it was just so offensively bad that people were, it was like making rounds as like, all right, this might be the Razzie for the year. And you let me in on the fact that it was written and directed by Fred Durst, and I was like, oh, okay. So I watched it immediately after we spoke, I think Tuesday night. And yeah, unfortunately, you set the bar so low that like it wasn't.
I was afraid of that.
It wasn't as terrible for me, but like, you know, just decisions as a director. Just find me a establishing shot anywhere in that movie. He breaks the 180 rule at least once in that movie, which is...
What's the 180 rule for those at home that...
All right, so usually if you're filming two people talking to each other, the camera stays on one side of them and doesn't go over in between them. And he goes back and forth, and he doesn't do so artistically. It's just like out of convenience. There's a scene in the
just
kitchen.
Just cause.
Yeah, it's really funky. And then, of course... the passage of time, something major happens to somebody, and then it's just like, never mind, we won't talk about this because movie, and then suddenly because movie, the ending, the thing that we were supposed to.
Feel free to go full spoilers. This is a movie that. It's an experience. It's not like a story.
Go full spoilers in the same way that Travolta went full retard.
Oh man, yeah. I'm trying to leave you some meat on the bone here, Brian. But the fact, like, yeah, they just forget things that happen in the movie, and then there's the moment where he literally I'm leaving John Travolta out of this with his 1978 rendition of a mentally handicapped, socially awkward.
His son was autistic.
Is that true?
He had the in-house. It was either his son that passed away or he has another son, but he did have a son at least that had autism. So he has an in-house example of what autism is.
Yo, he full retarded it, and it's awful. It's just. Travolta's performance is terrible. Brian.
As terrible as that haircut.
Well, the thing is, the first I heard about this film was actually one of my patrons, Joseph Lionel. Yeah,
there he is. Stop making the Fanatic more money.
So he mentioned it. With regards to not recognizing John Travolta, I think there was, in an image or something like that, and I like when he mentioned it, I was like, so I'll look it up. So I looked it up. What's this film is talking about? And then the first thing that comes up is Chris Stuckman's Hilariosity review. So I watched that, and he starts. Yeah, so he basically says it's the new The Room. I disagree personally. Yeah. I think The Room is awful. Hilariously bad. It's like every scene in The Room is a gold mine of just comedy. Yeah, comedy gold. It's just bad. Like it's not funny bad. It makes me feel sad kind of bad. Like I feel bad for most people concerned. I feel embarrassed for most people concerned. And the thing is, Devon Sawa in it is actually giving a fairly decent, credible performance. Like he's in a different film, and I'm like, this poor guy is probably doesn't realize what he's stuck in right now, and it's just terrible. And it's not one of those that I would say go out and watch it because it's so bad it's good. It's not. It's just bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that he shoehorns a line about his band that is literally
That was awesome.
no.
Yes, he
The
gets
movie
his
literally
main.
comes to the movie
Gets his
comes to a
main
screeching
actor.
halt. Is there even like it's a scene where Devon Sawa is driving his son somewhere? Was there even a lead in to him getting in the car,
No,
or did it even
no,
show where
no.
the fuck they drove
So
to?
so no no they so they bump into Travolta walking in the street, but the lead in is just out of nowhere. Like, oh, here's Limp Bizkit. This was the shit back in my day.
No, it fucking wasn't.
Yeah, it was one of the worst songs they've had too. Like one of their
It was
later
so
stuff.
awesome. Yeah, it was so awesome when it came out. He's like, "Yeah, like a little music," and he's like, "You like a little biscuit? You like a little Limp Biscuit?" I was like, "Oh my god, you've got to be kidding me!" Like
It's just, oh man, that is like the most vain moment I think I've ever seen in a film.
It's one
just-
thing if you can't afford other music to put in your thing, but to drop the line and oh no.
One of the hilarious things too was before this movie had released in theaters and then eventually on VOD very quickly after that. I had seen an interview where John Travolta had went on like the Daily Show or something like that, and they were hyping up The Fanatic, and they were like, "Yeah, he's coming back, and he's got this movie here," and he comes in and he talks about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I love working with Fred. He's such a great director, and he's a good actor, so he knows how to like work with actors, and I'm so proud of this movie." And like not like he's gonna say it sucks, but he was hyping it up so much. And then the host was like, "Yeah, he's already getting rave reviews. It's going to be in theaters this weekend." And then you fast forward, and the movie made $3,000. And he got abysmal reviews. It might be like it's career ending bad for Travolta. That's the sad part of it. That's the part
I
where
don't
I'm like,
know.
oh man.
Gotti's supposed to be career ending bad for Travolta.
But nobody really talked about Gotti that much. Gotti got most of its. Gotti got most of its. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Gotti is career ending for Travolta because the thing he did after it was this. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Movie Pass made sure that.
And Travolta produced this, so
Yeah.
that. So if you think about the effect of Gotti, this is the effect of Gotti, that he's now having to produce this kind of stuff for himself because clearly no one else is giving
Well,
it. Anything.
I'm assuming he had to hold Fred Durst's hands because it was him and Fred Durst listed as producers, which I don't know. I don't trust Fred Durst as a writer. I don't trust him as a director. And I guess Travolta certainly didn't trust him as a producer and said, "You know what, let me let me take some of this here."
I'm gonna act. Just point the
Yeah,
camera.
I got this. I am Sam this. Don't worry, I got it.
Yeah, my God. So yeah, that was a movie where like I tried my best not to overhype it, but I wanted to encourage you enough to where you didn't like just shrug it off like maybe. I was like, no, watch this please. So yeah, I don't know. To me, it was entertaining, bad. Like this is easily my worst of the year so far that I've seen. But at the same time, it's not a movie like Slender Man where I was like, fuck you for making me waste that much time. This was The Fanatic where I watched it and I was like, you know what? This is a movie that I'm gonna enjoy talking about. So guys.
Blaze Sawyer there says Tarantino has to resurrect Travolta with his last movie. I'd actually really love that to happen because
I said that in my review. I was like, Tarantino, if you're watching this, please give him a part because he needs that get out of jail free card again.
Because he's had a career resurrection twice, so the charm,
Worse in
Travolta's
2019.
awesome. Travolta's awesome. He just has to be given the right role. He has to be given the right director because he tends to go over the top, but he has to be given the movie that works, like Face Off or something like that, where you have the room
getting remake.
Yeah. Speaking of that, oh man. All right. So I think
Wait,
we've
wait,
said
wait,
all we need
wait.
to say about the fanatic.
So,
Go ahead.
so worse in 2019, Loquisha, perhaps even more tone deaf, about a white guy who plays a black woman on the radio, named Loquisha. Terrible. Pet Graveyard, which is
The
which
Walmart version of Pet Cemetery,
yeah,
where they
yeah,
release it at the same time to fool you.
yeah. The folks at
Oh,
oh,
Oh
uh,
wow,
believe in the hype. $60. This is for the fanatic. Poor John. Bye bye acting.
dude, you
Thank
guys are
you.
kicking ass tonight. Thank you so much. That is a
thank you.
huge boost for this show. But yes, that's John Travolta might need that after this movie. I mean, I hope that him and Kelly Preston saved all the money from Twins and Broken Arrow and everything. Because
Yeah,
oh
he's doing
lord,
garbage. Like he's doing Nicolas Cage decisions where it's just like, dude, are you broke? Like, are you okay?
yeah. Yeah, do you need a check? I can send you $100. Like, oh
please,
man, but yeah,
please
thank you
stop
so
doing
much for
this.
leaving the hype.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh man. All right. I think we've said all we need to say about the fanatic.
Mm.
I think that wraps up our thoughts. So the way that I wrapped everything up was either avoid this movie at all costs or stop everything and watch it right now. So you
Hmm.
decide who you are. Moving on from that. So we've got a little more than 3 months left in the year. See, October. Yeah, a little more than 3 months left in the year. So Brian actually suggested that maybe it'd be a good time to talk about the year thus far because we didn't really get a chance to do that in a live stream format so far in the summertime.
Mm.
So we're going to talk about some of our best movies of 2019 so far this year. These might end up being in our top five at the end of the year. They might get pushed out by some surprises coming because we also are going to be talking about our most anticipated of the winter. So I'll kick this one off actually. I don't know if you guys have a list prepared or anything. I just wrote down five movies that are definitely either in my top five or damn close to it that I still remember as being just great experiences. So from the bottom, a surprise for me at number five was Long Shot. That one I really enjoyed. Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron. I'm not really one to go out and do rom-coms too much unless Holly's really into it or if it's a little more on the raunchy side like this one is. But I love Seth Rogen. Charlize Theron's been killing it the past couple of years. Went to go see this. I was surprised, not so much with how funny it was, which it genuinely was, but I was surprised at how much heart this movie had. You really believe that these two people that on, our superficial way that we look at people, that they would never be a couple, and you actually believe it in this movie. You believe how those two people would connect. I was laughing throughout the whole movie. I like how it touched on politics, but it didn't really go too far into it to offend either side. That's
Mm.
always good in today's climate. So yeah, I really enjoyed Long Shot. Was surprised by that. Number four, I have Glass, which is still holding up there. A lot of people were disappointed with Glass. I really enjoyed what Shyamalan brought with this last one. I really understood where he was going with his ending. It's not the ending that everybody wanted necessarily, but I feel like it's an ending that makes sense in the franchise. I love
Preach.
seeing, yeah, I love seeing Bruce Willis back. James McAvoy, probably one of his best performances ever.
Excellent.
Just expands everything that he does in Split. Samuel Jackson killed it. I really enjoyed Glass. Very few problems with that for me. Three is no surprise, Child's Play. I'm so glad that I can say that and not say that it's one of my most disappointing movies of the year. Definitely wasn't perfect. There's things about it that I would have done differently. There's things where they could have put a little more effort in, but overall, I liked the different direction. I liked all the different the exploration of the relationship between Andy and Chucky. I thought the kills were great. That whole gag in the middle of the film with the severed head, I thought was just gold. And I appreciated the different take on Chucky overall. Coming in at number two for me is one that not a whole lot of people saw, which was Dragged Across Concrete.
Mm.
That's the follow-up to Brawl and Cell Block 99, which was in my top five a couple years ago. Craig S. Zoller, I believe, is the director.
Hmm.
You got Mel Gibson, you got Vince Vaughn. They're a couple of cops that aren't necessarily dirty cops, but they push the envelope a little bit, get into some trouble, and they have to push the envelope even more to get some money. And it's a slow burn movie. It's about 3 hours long. It's
Watch it at
almost
home.
told. Yeah, it's almost told like a chapter book. Like there's entire segments dedicated to characters where you feel like, where is this going? Why is this
Mm.
relevant to the plot? And then you find out in a split second why it's relevant. And it's just, I love the way it was framed. I'm starting to be in love with this director's work. I do prefer Brawl and Cell Block 99. I think it works just a little bit better. It moves a little quicker, but I
Bone
love Dragon
Tomahawk.
Cross Concrete. I need to revisit that one too. That's the
Mm,
other one. That's the one he splashed with. And my number one of the year is still Endgame. Like I did
yeah.
not expect to say that because I have not had a Marvel film at number one in a while. But Endgame, that was possibly the greatest theater experience I've ever had in my life. Like no exaggeration, just the amount of build up, the amount of just everybody there was having an absolute blast from start to finish. The movie was 3 hours long, but it flew by. So many things wrapped up, so much satisfaction with all the answers and all the closure that we got with a lot of things, a lot of emotion, so many fan moments, like fan service moments, like Cap and the Thor's hammer and everything. It was just the whole theater would erupt and cheer. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in the theater. So Endgame is still to me the best movie that I've seen this year. So CP, I'll kick it over to you. I don't know if you have a
Uh,
list or if you just want to name some, but what's
yeah,
your best of
I'm
the year so
I'm looking at my 2019 list on Letterboxd, and I almost want to swap my 5 and 6. My 5 is Booksmart, but I showed up to Alita late, and boy did I
I still
enjoy
haven't
that.
watched that. I still haven't watched that.
Dude, the more you get away from the negativity or the non-attention that movie gets, the more you just kind of enjoy it as a fun time. That it's like a tie. One of those two is my number 5.
Hmm.
Number 4 is the Fire documentary. I don't know if you guys have heard of or know anything
Uh,
about this. It's a documentary on Netflix. There's like three documentaries about this one festival that was planned, and it was just like a scam. One of these high profile, like Burning Man type shit, where it was this exotic getaway type deal that they just took people's money, and when the people showed up for this festival, there was nothing, and it was just fascinating, just absolutely fascinating,
wow.
seeing like the arrogant bastards who planned this had film crews with them, and they paid Instagram influencers to plug it, and like they kept track of the process as it went along. So you're seeing footage that they shot, and like it's intertwined with stuff that like what was really happening, and it's just utterly fascinating. Number 3 for me, and this probably is my surprise of the I don't know, since I've been doing YouTube, Lords of Chaos, which I
Yeah.
really didn't want to like. And again, I don't know much about that genre of music.
Fucking brutal.
Yeah, it is the polar opposite of Bohemian Rhapsody. And
Yeah.
yeah, so like I don't listen. I can't tell you about a single song that's in that movie, which other things happen that are way more important and devastating. And true things did happen, whether or not they're fabricated. That's somebody died.
That's
Things happen.
certainly the most disturbing movie that I've seen this year, bar
Yeah,
none. Like
yeah,
it's one, two, and three.
yeah. Number 2 for me, Triple Frontier, another Netflix movie,
I still
which
haven't seen that either.
is like The Town meets Sicario. I want to say. Ben Affleck. I forgot who the hell else. I think Oscar Isaac's in it too.
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, yeah, really. Listen, I think I have a better time when I expect nothing and watch something at home. That's just me, but that's my number 2, and number 1 is Avengers Endgame. Sadly,
Which is saying a lot for you because you are
yes,
notorious for saying,
yeah,
fuck
I'm
comic book
tired.
movies. I'm tired of it. So the
Yeah,
fact that
yeah,
it this skates past all those movies is a big statement from
yeah,
CP.
yeah, yeah. Right.
Yeah. Oh man,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D.
there's a few honourable mentions I just want to give. Triple Frontier being one of them. I really liked that film. It took me a while to go and see it because a lot of people were saying it was a bit disappointing, and I was like, oh, that's a shame. But I really love the director, J.C. Chandor. I've liked everything he's done so far, and I thought it was a really good film. And a couple of other Netflix ones just to shout out is The Highwaymen, which I really enjoyed. I like that whole
That was good.
yeah, the stuff around Bonnie and Clyde and that. I just if you play it as a kind of a side quel, so to speak, to the Warren Beatty Bonnie and Clyde, it's just it's a really well made film.
You know what I really like, just to interject for a second about the Highwaymen? It's one of the only times I've seen the story of Bonnie and Clyde told from the perspective that they were evil and they were villains. They're
Mm,
always made like they
yes.
were kind of like these cool rebels. That movie really nails like how scary it was that these two people were going around murdering people.
Yep, that's what I loved about it. It didn't try and it didn't try and turn them into heroes, folk heroes, or anything
Mhm.
like that. It clearly stated that actually these guys were sadistic. They were villains, and they deserved to be captured. So yeah, I really liked it. I Am Mother. It's a science fiction really well this year, I think. But I Am Mother was really good. Great performance from Hilary Swank, and just yeah, the whole setup. If you're a sci-fi fan, definitely one to watch. It's in my top 10. Tarantino with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I really like that film, and the more that I think about it, the more it climbs up my list of Tarantino movies. I do think that if you don't really know the story or take and what went on there, then the film will have very little impact on you. But yeah, CP is making his
Super
usual
chat,
sense.
super
Oh,
chat, $10. You guys rock. Batman rules, Brian.
yes, he does. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
So,
Ebard.
so yeah, that's the honourable mentions. Man, there's so many I want to mention, but yeah,
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
can't.
Just name 50. It's fine.
Okay, the keeper. this there's a film called The Keeper. The thing is that when you get to your top five, that tends to be the films that everybody's seen, and I just
Tight
Yeah.
feel
2 hours. Tight two
uh,
hours.
We're
yeah,
good.
and
We still got plenty of time. We got plenty of time.
Don't
We're
tell
good.
him that.
it's just that there are other films that never get mentioned, but they're kind of ones that are just verging on my top 10, and it's like, you know what, this is an opportunity to tell people go watch them. There's a
Mhm.
really good drama film that came out, a true life drama called The Keeper, which is about a German soldier who was put in a camp over in the UK and became a basically was put to work as a goalkeeper in a local football team, but then he went on to eventually become like I mean I'm not a football fan at all, but he became a goalkeeper for one of the biggest UK teams, and it's all a true story, and it was just really well played. So The Keeper, if you like a good drama, check that out. As for my top five, I'll just reel them off. Alita is my top five. Really great sci-fi film. Like CP said, it just gets really enjoyable.
I'm
Fighting with
watching
my
that this weekend.
Do it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Fighting with My Family is at number
Mm.
four.
Yeah.
Really great drama. Was not expecting to like it as much as I did. A lot the girl that's in it, who was also in
Florence
Midsommar.
Pugh.
yeah, the awful Midsummer. She's a really great actress. She's a really great actress. I liked her in that, but I thought that the guy who played her brother was really he didn't get anywhere near the kind of attention that he should have got. I thought he gave a
Mm.
really great performance in it.
Yeah.
I saw some behind the scenes stuff in which the real life guy was the actor came to the set to visit him and stuff. He was like he was like, there's no way this guy can play me. He's just
Mhm.
not got it. He's a bit of a tough. He's just no, he's not got it. And then this guy worked on the character and everything and came back, and then the real life character was like, he's nailed it. He's got me. He's got, and it's just yeah, he deserved more attention anyway for his performance. Number three is Glass. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It made me feel pain when certain things happen to certain characters,
I felt
and
pain, all right.
that's the way it should be. Number two at the moment, this may change, it may go down, but at the moment, Toy Story 4.
Whew.
Actually, my second favorite Toy Story film. I really liked it. Number one, Avengers Endgame.
Yawn.
Just yeah, well, it is. It is yawn, isn't it? It
Mm.
is, and that's why I wanted to give those honourable mentions because
Yeah.
you know you're going
Yeah.
to get these. So everyone talks about these ones, but who's talking about The Keeper? Who's talking about Triple Frontier and I Am Mother, and Highwaymen? So go out and check out those films as well.
I get a lot of questions for Toy Story 4. I've actually already had a couple in the chat just in the time we've been talking. I've seen it twice. It was a big family event whenever we went to go see it the first time, and then I took my 2-year-old to go see it on a day where I was home with her just to kind of keep her entertained. And I did like it a little bit more the second time, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just because I was expecting something differently, or it just didn't take for me. I still have some issues with Woody's choice in that movie. I know what they were going for, and we're not gonna spoil it because I'm sure a lot of people still haven't seen it. But for me, it was a hard pill to swallow. I thought the ending of 3 was so perfect.
Yep.
And to me, it felt like it felt like they got another story out there just to make it even more bittersweet. And it was just like, no, 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 no. You could have left it at 3, and I would have been so much more satisfied. But overall, I had a lot of fun with the movie. I love Duke Kaboom. I thought that the villain-ish of Gabby Gabby was a cool villain. Her art was
Her
really,
sidekicks
was really
were
nice.
creepy.
Yeah, yeah. So overall, I enjoyed it, and I think the more I watch it, which I'm probably going to watch it 1,000 times as soon as it comes out on Blu-ray with Riley, but yeah, the way that they kind of treated the Woody storyline and how quickly the little girl basically discarded him, even though that's realistic, I get it, but she discarded him so quickly after the events of 3. That was just like a bitter spot for me, that whole movie, that was hard to get over. All right. We've already had people asking us too, so we're going to move on to our most anticipated movie or movies for the rest of the year. So we've got October, November, and December. We've got some huge heavy hitters. Brian, I'm going to start with you. What is your most anticipated movie for the remainder of 2019?
Joker.
Oh,
shock.
I'm surprised.
I know that's a shock. It comes as quite a shock to you guys. I just, yeah, everything I'm seeing about this, everything I'm hearing, it's all good. It's all good. I just cannot wait. Yeah, when they announced it last, everyone was just, in the last year or so, year and a half, DC have really turned things around. Now that's coming from someone who actually liked the Snyder films, but with regards to public perception, Aquaman was really good, Wonder Woman was really great.
Justice League 5.
Yeah, release the Snyder Cut. No, it's just I want to see DC stuff now more than I want to see the Marvel stuff, and that's not a diss at Marvel. It's like, Marvel, you know what you're getting, you know you're going to get a quality product, you know you're going to enjoy it, you know that in all likelihood the least you're going to give it is a 4 out of 5. But there's something a bit more, I don't know, dangerous, unpredictable, risky about what DC are doing, and just the idea of doing this where it's a solo film, it's not part of continuity, it's its own thing, it's kind of like an Elseworlds thing. It's like, yeah, do that. And if it's successful, which it's looking like it's going to be, we could get more of this kind of thing where you have different takes on the same characters. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and it makes me.
That new trailer makes me feel like it's King of Comedy meets Taxi Driver, which is interesting.
Is exactly what it's meant to be.
Okay. Produced by Scorsese too, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
Well, Todd Phillips has said that basically it is like Taxi Driver and all those early Scorsese films. That's exactly what he was going for. Which, yeah.
Guys, I'm aware of Cody's box. I can only get it so fast. Just
Is it bouncing around?
Yeah, I'm getting it within a second or so. It's just there it goes again. I'll fix it, guys. My apologies. I'm aware. So,
Damn. So the fix thing that we got on the last stream didn't fix it on this one?
It fixed Brian. Brian's been fine.
Oh man, what a bitch.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I'll do homework for next time, guys. This one's on me, all the way around.
Nah, it's all good. So, yeah, to bounce off one thing you were saying, Brian, because yeah, I was actually initially nervous when they announced this movie because I was like, it was during the time where it felt like DC was just grabbing at everything.
Mm.
So now that we're kind of, if the people that have seen it can be believed, now we have people are calling an Oscar contender and all this other stuff coming down the pipe, which we'll see. But now that we have a film that looks like, if nothing else, is going to be something extremely different, that almost is one of the biggest things that I'm looking for now because I'm really getting nervous with how much control Disney has over the comic book genre as far as films. Like, I was not one that wanted them to buy Fox. I wanted Comcast to win out on that because I'm a big advocate of diversity, not the diversity that you would think I'd be talking about, but like I want Marvel films to feel like
We know,
Marvel
Cody.
films. Damn. I was always a big fan of most of the Fox X-Men films, which didn't feel like the MCU. They were their own thing. DC had their own thing going on, and I wanted to keep that. Even when Sony had Spider-Man, there was a lot of different feeling movies out there, and now you have the whole thing where everybody wants Spider-Man to go back to Disney because apparently Disney has to control every comic book property, and I want to be able to go to a comic book film and not know what to expect. Like you said, when I walk into Marvel, I could probably guess 80% of what I'm going to get. There's some surprises sometimes here and there, but I know the experience I'm going to have. With DC, I want them to go that route where I don't exactly know. It might be a little crazy. It might be a little funny. It might, and we've got that so far in the universe films. You watch a movie like Batman v Superman, totally different than Aquaman, totally different than Wonder Woman, but they're all in the same universe, but they don't feel templated the way that the MCU does. So nothing but love for the MCU, but I'm right there with you with being excited for something like this to kind of give the genre a shot in the arm, hopefully. CP, are you still busy or?
No, I'm good. I'm good. It just stop talking, will you?
Yeah.
No. It seems like every time you talk, it reacts.
Awesome.
It's fickle. It's not my fault. It's not my fault.
We had a fix for it, and it worked on our
Yeah.
commentary, and now it's being a
Yeah.
bitch again, like we were joking it was going to do.
Yeah.
CP, what is your most anticipated movie for the rest of 2019?
The other big one that Disney owns, that is Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. I enjoyed Last Jedi, and I think we're going on quite a journey with Kylo Ren. I want to see them just stick the landing. Don't relax. Just let everybody else. Let the loud people on both sides just block them out. Just land this thing because you got it. You got you're 3/4 of the way over with this guy's arc. Just stick the landing, and I'm with you. Just wrap it up because I thoroughly enjoyed Force Awakens. I actually liked it a hell of a lot more than Last Jedi. And Last Jedi, for as much as people were complaining that Force Awakens was way too samey, The Last Jedi is not. The Last Jedi is such a departure from everything that we've seen, and the theme of that movie is so prevalent with failure. But the internet doesn't seem to understand that. So I'm okay if this movie is this series is Return of the Jedi. I'm okay with that because I'm like I said, just stick the landing. Just don't screw it up. Don't overcompensate because the basement dwellers are loud.
Yeah, I'm keeping myself at an absolute zero expectation level for anything Star Wars at this point. I absolutely loved The Force Awakens, and I loved the fact that it was kind of a throwback movie and had a lot of parallels to A New Hope, which was what fans said they wanted for over a decade. This doesn't feel like Star Wars. This doesn't feel like Star Wars. And they said, okay, this is Star Wars. This feels too much like Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I loved The Force Awakens. I was hyped as all hell for The Last Jedi. I loved Rian Johnson's work previous to that. I said, there's no way this is not going to be like top 2 Star Wars movies. And I was sorely disappointed. Not for the reasons that everybody's shouting from the rooftops for the past couple of years. Me was mostly just the story directions they decided to take all of the build up from Force Awakens to me felt like they just kept wanting to do the thing that nobody expected, and to me, it wasn't nearly as satisfying as what I was expecting. So, like Rey's lineage, and Kylo Ren, and the who
Story's
what was
not over
Kylo?
yet.
I know what was Kylo Ren's master. What the hell was the dude's name? The guy that Circus was playing. I don't know what his name is, but that guy was supposed to be this big dude, and he just kind of gets taken out of nowhere. So there was a lot of things in that movie that just bugged me. So I'm kind of keeping my expectations level down, but I am very glad that J.J. Abrams is back because I loved what he did with The Force Awakens. So I have confidence that he's going to stick the landing, but like you, I don't necessarily, even though I don't like what they did in Last Jedi necessarily, I don't want them to
Yeah.
pivot and
Yeah.
give everybody what they want.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
One of the things I actually liked most about The Last Jedi was the fact that Rey's lineage was from nobody's. That to me is the essence of what that story was about. Is this idea that actually greatness, it's not about destiny. It's not about coming from a line. It's that anybody can. And we end on that final shot of all these people in the kids and that looking up and thinking, actually, I could be a Jedi. And I loved that. I thought the story was great in it. I think they didn't always make the best choices. I feel like there was a lot of characters shoehorned in there for the whole, for the sake of being
Kelly
liberal.
Tran or whatever.
Yeah. It's just like, and I have nothing against the idea of representation of and stuff like that, but when you feel like it's been jammed in there,
Story first.
story first. Do the story you want to make, and if there's room there to make one of those characters that, then fine, make them that. But don't have your story and then the executives say, you know what, we need this kind of character in there, stick them in. Oh, okay, all right. We'll
Doesn't fit the story. That doesn't matter. Just we're releasing this in China, so put blank.
Yeah. That's exactly it, and that's what it felt like. And I know a lot of people. I mean, I know Luke, who I love to bits, from Razor Wire reviews. He really likes that character. He doesn't particularly like the whole argument people make when they, basically the argument I've just made, but I make it because it's so noticeable. It's just like I don't want films to be made by a committee of people who are thinking about that. I want them to be made by filmmakers who want to tell a particular story. And I get it. I've heard the arguments. It's a business. Movies are going to make money, this, that, and the other, but they are still an art form as well. And you look at things that Nolan's made, Inception, that made bank. Films like that make bank because people love good stories. Story first, character first.
Did you get the teaser for Tenet, by the way?
I did.
I don't think I've seen it yet.
Oh my God!
I got it, and it shows
nothing.
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 It shows the guy from Black Klansman looking at a bullet hole in a window, and then it just says new film from Nolan, Tenet, and I'm like,
yeah, July.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do I put my money?
Yeah. Or it says something like the protagonist has been reinvented or something like that, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And then it's like Nolan, Tenet. I'm like, okay, cool.
I'm there.
To be honest, all they needed was Nolan's name to come up, and then the title.
Yeah.
That Inception font and everything too. Yeah, he's got his own licensed font. It looks like that gray whatever. It was just like yeah, I'm down.
Yep, I'm right there.
Without having anything, I'm down. Sorry, didn't mean to.
No, you're good. All right, well, for my most anticipated, and we're moving pretty quick, so I'm gonna talk about two. And if you guys want to give another one after that, I'm totally fine with that. I won't be selfish. But my two, even though I'm highly, highly anticipating Joker, that's definitely, if Brian wasn't here, I probably would have picked that one as well. But the two that I'm looking forward to the most is Rambo: Last Blood and Terminator: Dark Fate. Now, Terminator: Dark Fate, I probably had the least amount of faith in of all these big movies that are in the anticipated category. But I'll start with Rambo. I absolutely love Stallone. I've grown to love him a lot more as an adult than I did as a kid. I was much more of an Arnie fan when I was younger, and I've kind of flipped that in my adult age. I'm much more of a Stallone fan now, and I've loved what he's done in kind of bringing back the Rocky franchise to relevancy. I thought the last Rambo movie back in like what 2008 was awesome, absolute gore fest. The trailer for Last Blood looks like a total throwback to the style. Brian, I will smack the shit out of you. All I saw was Brian and Cedar Chucky, and my eyes went. But I love you, Brian. Don't ever change, Brian. I love you to death.
Yeah,
The
don't
trailer
change.
it felt like a throwback to what Rambo was about in First Blood. Which, if you've been following me on my Rambo review series, that's what I hold dear is the Rambo we got in First Blood. That kind of fish out of water, broken man trying to right a wrong. Not necessarily the big macho 80s cliche hero that we got in 2 and 3, even though those movies are absolutely fun for what they have. So I'm really looking forward to what that could be. I'm hoping that it has the gore turned up to 11 like the fourth one. I think it's seen, even though because the title's Last Blood, it feels like it is going to be like a final, one last adventure where Rambo is going to right or wrong and probably sacrifice himself in the long run. So I'm really, really anticipating what this movie could be. I hope it doesn't disappoint me. Stallone, I love him to death. Now with well, before I move on, do you guys have? Are you looking forward to Rambo: Last Blood? Are you a fan of the franchise? Could you care less?
I like. I like.
That's this week, isn't it?
Hey? Yeah, next week.
No.
Two weeks?
Yeah, next Friday. Yeah, next Friday.
Sorry, Brian.
No, sorry. I love. Oh, I thought it was a good film. I thought the second one was close to unwatchable. I thought the third one was just over the top 80s bonkers kind of Rocky IV stage filmmaking, and I thought the fourth was entertaining and it's probably the second best of the bunch so far. Yeah,
Pretty much my thoughts.
Yeah.
The trailer for the new one looks good, I will say that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be good. I hope it caps off the series in a good way. Slasher in Suits, I just went into a long diatribe about why I'm hyped for it. Terminator: Dark Fate. Now this is one that, like I said, I'm almost expecting it to be bad. I'm hoping I walk in with abysmal expectations and I walk out going, "Oh wow, that was actually good." History has not been kind to the Terminator franchise. The first two films, I think most fans, if not all movie fans, would agree are amongst the best sci-fi action films of all time. Terminator 2 might be my favorite sequel of all time. I don't hate Terminator 3, Salvation, or Genesis, but they're nowhere near the quality of the first two. Like, I can have fun with them for what they are. Go ahead.
Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines is an abomination.
Cool. So, Terminator Dark Fate. The trailers, I will be honest with you, have not necessarily sold me on it. I thought the music choice was abysmal in the first trailer. It feels like they're really focusing on the girl power thing and not necessarily what the story of the movie is, which Terminator, just like Aliens, never really had to shove girl power in your face. They had the two probably biggest and baddest female protagonists we've ever had with Sarah Connor and Ripley. So we have Sarah Connor coming back, which is great. I think she looks great. She's the best part of the trailers. We don't know what Arnold's involvement is. We know he's in the movie, but they seem to be kind of hiding him in the trailer. So I don't know if he has a big part. I don't know if it's going to be a surprise, if he shows up in the third act. Supposedly Eddie Furlong is showing up maybe for a second. Who knows? The CGI on these new Terminators that they're showcasing don't really impress me, and they feel like they're really losing the they're losing what was cool about the Terminators and the T-1000 in the first place, and they keep just trying to upgrade and upgrade and upgrade, and it just doesn't really land for me. But I have faith that James Cameron has been the most heavily involved with this one since the second one, whatever degree that is. I thought Tim Miller did a great job with Deadpool, and all I can do is hope at this point that they've learned their lesson. So I'm going into this one on pure, blind, idiotic hope that it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Thoughts, CP?
Yeah, I have no sort of expectation.
Fool me 5 times, shame on me. Fool me a 6.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Miller. Yeah. Everything you said. I mean, McGee wasn't that terrible a director at that point when he did Salvation, and Bale signed on for 3, and it was like, all right, so they're going to go in a different direction, and that was I don't know. That was the of the ones post Part 2. Salvation is the one that bothers me the least, to be honest.
Oh, me too. I'm with you on that one.
What, Brian? What are you dancing for? What do you got?
McGee wasn't a bad director at that point.
Well, for action, he was. What do you have? Charlie's
Angels.
Well, they were.
I will say this though, I like that movie. This Means War with Tom Hardy and Chris Pine.
Yeah, that was after.
Give that guy a Terminator film.
Well, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. I mean, it was gritty. I remember that teaser with that. If you know
the
my
teaser
channel,
that gave away the whole fucking movie.
Like the teaser, like where they had the static play the song. Oh, I'm a big static whore, but
I'll say this much: so far, Terminator Salvation is the closest we've got to having a good Terminator film since T2. Really liked it.
I agree. I haven't rewatched it in probably 10 years, but I actually enjoyed it when it first came out.
Poor Anton Yelchin was probably the best part of that movie too.
Yeah. Oh man, I miss Anton. Christian Bale was the only weird part of that movie for me. I was like, dude, why are you playing John Connor? This is strange. But the one thing I'll say too before I kick it over to Brian, even though he's probably just going to agree with everything we just said, one thing that does really worry me, and this is where I feel like they're not learning their lessons, is they're yet again building this up as the beginning of a new trilogy, which they said about 3, which they said about Salvation, and which they said about Genesis. It's like, quit mapping out trilogies, give us a good fucking sequel, and then go from there. Quit putting the cart before the goddamn horse. Ugh. Maybe it's not my most anticipated. Fuck this movie. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that line where she goes, just so you know, when this is over, I'm going to have to kill you. I think that's ADR. I don't think that she says that line to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because if you watch the trailer where she says, they edit it so it looks like she's talking to Schwarzenegger, and she says, just so you know, when this all ends, I'm going to have to kill you. The edit looks funky. I think that's ADR, and she's saying that to someone else. Yeah. But marketing.
Maybe I have a feeling that John Connor is dead in the story. So I feel like the fact that this girl they're protecting is pregnant. She's like I was her. It feels like this is the new savior. I'm just picking this up from the trailer. That's what I'm getting, and I'm thinking maybe that version of Arnie is involved with how John Connor died. But then again, we'll find out in November. Brian, Terminator: Dark Fate, hit me.
Well, it's a bit of a. Those first 2 Terminators are 2 of my favorite films of all time.
Untouchable.
They man, I have so much love for those first 2 movies. I really do. Like, I've just recorded reviews for all the Terminator movies. I'm going to be releasing them soon, and I've been going through them again recently, and just seeing those 2. I saw them on the big screen just about 2 weeks ago, and man alive, they hold up so well. It's unreal. It's just
totally timeless.
Yeah, they really are. Like T2, you look at that film now, and it still looks better than most action films that are out today. It's unreal how good that film is.
The CGI still holds too. Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. And I will never ever understand anyone who says Terminator 3 isn't that bad. That film is an abortion. It is absolute garbage from start to finish. It's got one good action sequence in it, and the rest is it upsets me how bad it is. I've seen it 3 times. I saw it at the cinema when it first came out. I was so stoked that a new Terminator film was coming out, and man, me and my brother came out of that, and we just ripped it to shreds afterwards. Everything we said about it was just negativity. And it got quite a lot of good reviews, and people were saying it was good, it was fun, it was all right. And I'm like, did I see the same film? I watched it again on DVD to make sure, and I had the exact same opinion. Absolutely bloody terrible. And I haven't seen it again since, until I wanted to do my reviews. So I thought I'm going to have to watch this again just so it's fresh for this review. I've watched it again, and man alive, and not to give the game away, but it's a 1-star film. It's an absolute abomination. I hate it. There aren't many films that I hate, but I genuinely get mad by that film.
Is the original Friday the 13th better?
Yes, it is.
We have a victory, Ryan.
That's all
Your thing about I have very few films that I hate, and I know because me and you are on opposite ends of the earth about this one. Your feelings, for very different reasons, obviously, for why you despise Terminator 3 so much is why I despise Alien 3 so much. So that's kind of where I come from with that, just because of the story direction it takes from Aliens. So I'm with. I don't think it's a 1-star film, but I can if you love 1 and 2 so much, and you just see everything kind of transition to 3.
See the thing is, the story for Terminator 3 ain't what's wrong with it. It's the tone. It's the tone. Like Alien Alien 3 at least keeps the tone.
Oh, it does. Absolutely, it does.
Those first 2 movies, and it's just Anyway,
you don't like the strip club scene?
Talk to the hand. Listen, as I've said, somebody's just asked what are my reasons. I've got a review coming. You will hear my reasons for why I think it's so bad. So it's But Terminator Salvation, I've always had trouble with the ending. Until watching it this time around again and I don't know if it's just because, like, when you review a movie, when you watch it again on DVD because you're reviewing it, you do get a lot more kind of, I don't know about you guys, but when I do,
you grasp it a lot more.
Yeah, because you have intent. You're going into it with intent because you need to find things that you can touch on and talk about.
Not just scour Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, and it's just, and it's just this time around, I really liked Terminator Salvation, and there was even some things in it that bothered me on previous viewings, where actually I realised that I realised why they've done it. So yeah, I actually quite like Terminator Salvation now. I think it's a really solid Terminator film. Genesis. I've not watched
Jenny
yet.
Smith.
Jenny Smith. I've not watched yet.
Guys, James Cameron is back, and he says that it's awesome.
He said
Go
that
watch
about
it.
Genesis.
No, that's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and now the big thing for 6. What are we at 6? Is he's come back to produce. Produce.
Well, he wrote the story for this one. Like, I hear what you're saying. He wrote the story for this one too, so it's more involvement than he had with Genesis, where they probably gave him money and said, "Dude, please tweet about this."
Dude, you're sitting in the theater. I'm looking at things that look familiar, and it's like, oh, dude, you're gross. You sound disgusting. Of course they look familiar. They're taking shots from your movie, you dick.
Yeah. No, the thing is, he didn't write the story. This is the thing. Like, and it's one of the things that actually scares me about it is in his own words, in Cameron's own words, he was talking about how this thing was going into production and they were still kind of tweaking the story, and that's essentially how he came into it. He was tweaking the story to work to work out kinks. So this thing was going into production. This was on the go, and they brought him in essentially to say, look, help us out here. So he's gone on and he's made adjustments to the story as they're producing this thing. So that to me sets major alarm bells ringing.
Yeah.
But we'll see when it comes. I like I say, I love those first two films so much, so much that I please be good, because we can't take a fourth.
Yeah, it's been a rough year. It's been kind of a rough year anyway.
It has. It's been a mediocre at best overall year.
Yeah, please be good. Just please be good. Like even if you're just solid, even if just get us back on course, So
fingers and toes crossed, people, for November. Oh man. All right, guys. That is our most anticipated films of the year. That is all of our topics for this show, and now we move on to the final segment, the post-mortem section. So this is going to be something that we're going to end every single episode of AutopStream with. There is an email address which I put on social media, but if you're watching us for the first time or if you did not see these posts, autopstream@gmail.com. Send in your viewer questions to autopstream@gmail.com, and we'll pick 3 or 4 for every single episode that stand out to us, that or 4 or 5. Okay, we got 5. So we'll pick out a few that speak to us that we actually feel like we can talk about for a while.
Make them count, people.
Yeah, make them count. The first one I got was, Cody, can you review this movie? That's not what this email address is for. This is for discussion questions that you want all 3 of us to talk about. So this is what we thought would be a better way to end with viewer interaction, because the chat questions are very hard to kind of hone in on sometimes at the end of a show. You get a lot of the same questions, so this kind of gives us time to pick through them for a while. So CP, I'm turning over the floor to you, sir. You are now our host for Postmortem, so get us kicking.
All right, so question 1, here it goes. It's from Andrew L. He asks, what's a movie which trailer is awful, but movie is great? And what's the most... that's a 2-part question, so I guess we'll stick with the first part. What's a movie which trailer is awful, but movie is great?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Ooh.
Or, excuse me, Live, Die, Repeat, whatever the fuck it's supposed to be called now. That trailer was horrendous. Just weird sci-fi looking stuff with this, this is not the end, going over it over and over and over again. And that movie was one of the few times where you'll see where everybody was like, oh, hell no, I'm not even bothering with that. And then the few people went to go see it and word got around and you saw this huge spike the next week when everybody talked about how awesome it is. That movie is so much fun. It's one of the best things that Tom Cruise has done in the past 10 years, notwithstanding the Mission Impossible movies, which are always awesome. Emily Blunt was almost better than Tom Cruise in that movie. The CGI, just the fun concept of like Groundhog Day in a sci-fi action movie. I loved Edge of Tomorrow, and that trailer was abysmal.
Brian?
I don't know.
We had these questions all week, but I'll say I'll say and this isn't it's tempered. It's tempered the expectations. But John Carter is a movie that I thought looked like deserved what happened to it, and I quite enjoyed it when I saw it. Of course, everybody else saw through that trailer and nobody went and saw it. But I had a fun time with John Carter. And I remember thinking about, seeing the trailer and thinking, who the fuck cares? What is this shit? Like they were just showing like images, like it was the sequel to something you've heard about, and just like they were just showing these random shots of characters that we have no idea of anything. They fucked up with the title. It should have been John Carter of Mars. I thought it was some weird, cop drama or something like that. You don't name some sci-fi dude's name, I'm not saying that John Carter by any stretch is a 5-star film. I was just pleasantly surprised. I had no intention on enjoying that movie due to the trailer and own it. So there's that.
I will say that I wouldn't say it was an appalling trailer, but when I saw the trailer for A Quiet Place,
Ooh.
the concept did not work for me at all in that trailer. I just thought
I remember you harped on that pretty hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's stupid. There's no way they're gonna convince me that yeah, it just didn't work. And then when I saw the film and you know how they mapped it out and yeah, I bought it. Basically, I bought it when I watched the film, but I didn't when I watched the trailer. So I'd say I'd go with that one.
Awesome.
All right. So question 2. Do you think with the success of it that the movie studios will try to create a Stephen King universe like the MCU? That's from Horror Miser Monty G.
Hey, Monty. We were talking about this. I think it was during our stream. Yes, it was during our stream when we were talking about Friday the 13th. I don't think they're going to go the MCU route and making it where like movies and characters intertwine, like go that deep into it. But I do think with undoubtedly the rest of the Stephen King remakes we're going to get, they're probably going to go the route that Pet Sematary did, where you get a little shot of, you know, Derry 10 miles or something like that, where it just lets you know that you're in Stephen King's world. I think that's as far as they're going to take it. So, and that's as far as they need to take it, in my opinion.
A bit like they did with Cat's Eye, where you saw Christine and you saw the rabid dog and all that. There was probably to that extent, but no more than that, I don't think.
I think legal loopholes are an issue too, because like I said, I didn't check. I meant to check, but I think Pet Sematary is, I want to say Paramount, and it is Warner. So if they can get around the business aspect, which if Friday the 13th has taught me anything about the Paramount Warner Brothers relationship, I don't have any hope. It is neat. Like you could just have, because Stephen King's involved with all these things to a degree, you could have these references, but I don't think you could have like crossovers or anything. Doctor Sleep is, I don't know. That's something that I don't know. I don't know anything about the book. Can you tell I'm a reader? But it just feels Dumb and Dumber 2-y at this point. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but they're riding that King train. And I don't know if you need them to be crossovers, but just references are fine. I would assume. Yeah,
I agree.
Alrighty. Question 3. Very excited for the new stream. Thank you. What do you guys think the legacy? What do you guys think the legacy is for the original Black Christmas? Have you seen the idiotic trailer for the new one? Jonathan H. asks.
Oh my God, Brian, take us away.
Ooh.
This is exactly what we were talking about earlier, which is this forced expression of female empowerment. And it's like, just tell a bloody story. Just tell a good story. And if the character happens to be female, great. But you're selling it on the idea that sisters are doing it for themselves, and it's like
girl power.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being preached to. You're a flipping slasher film. Why are you preaching some agenda to me? It's like,
which, by the way, is a subgenre that is built on females outlasting everybody else.
That's the thing that aggravates the fuck out of me about it. And I said that whenever they announced the Black Christmas remake, because I did a little video on it just off the little information we had, which was a poster, the fact that they were fast tracking the shit out of it, and they were filming it to get it out in like 3 months. And the little bit of story that they gave us, which was exactly what Brian said, which the only story they gave was there's a killer going around a campus and the girls aren't taking this shit no more. That's basically all they said. And I'm like, why the fuck are you preaching this in a genre that is built upon female empowerment without having to say it? Without having to say, hey guys, this chick's going to kick Jason's ass. It doesn't matter. That's why the whole term final girl exists. You get it across with your story. You get it across with the strength of your character. You don't just, hey, the girls are going to get back at the killer this time. It's like, okay, cool. If that happens, then fine. But you're marketing it off of that, which tells me you have nothing else in store aside from just appealing to that need nowadays to have that.
Blumhouse. Yikes.
Yikes.
Yikes is all I have to say.
Yeah. Aside from that, the trailer is abysmal because it literally gives away the whole film. I mean, like, small spoiler alert, guys. I guess earmuffs it if you don't want to know anything about the Black Christmas remake. But this was my thought process during the trailer. I watched it. It opens up with the college room or the classroom. It shows Carrie Elways, and I said, ew. I said, I bet he's the killer. And then as soon as it goes through, it doesn't feel anything like Black Christmas. They have the one scene where she gets a phone call and it's like breathing or something like that. Okay, cool, whatever. And then I see the killer and I'm like, what the hell is he wearing? And then the movie shows all of the fraternity brothers. Like the trailer basically makes it seem like the fraternity are all the killers and Carrie Elways is the mastermind. And I was like, okay, I don't need to see the movie now. And even if it didn't show that, the trailer looked abysmal anyway. But yeah, this is exactly what I did not want from this movie. The one bad remake was enough for this classic that was the original Black Christmas. So it's just a shame that they just keep milking that title. This could have been called anything. We can reserve full judgment until we see the film, but judging off of all we have to go off of, it looks like some random slasher with female empowerment that they decided to sell off the name Black Christmas.
Yeah, it looks like not many females die in that movie too. If anything, it looks like the females turn the tables and the frat boys are the hunted.
Yeah. Like you know, a really great example of a movie in which that happens in a very organic way, in a way board with and cheer along with, is You're Next. It's like it takes all the tropes of the slasher movie and just slightly turns it on its head, and then you're cheering for this woman, whereas this, it takes that aspect, throws it in your face, and asks you to come along, and it's like, again, it's that soapbox preaching stuff that's like, get out of my face, I don't want it. It's like, it's not a natural kind of organic process within the story. It's just something you're trying to force onto us because, hey, that's the in thing right now. So, not interested.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, the first part of the question, restate that for me, CP, asking about the original.
Yes. What do you guys think the legacy is for the original Black Christmas?
Brian?
Not much. The
getting
original,
ruined.
Yeah. What legacy is there? There is no legacy. You've got a great film from the 70s, and
no credit whatsoever.
Yeah. You got a great film from the 70s that doesn't even get the recognition that it should, given the fact that a lot of the stuff that's in it is kind of borrowed from the big three, certainly two of the big three.
Not only that, but one of the best aspects of Black Christmas is made famous by When a Stranger Calls.
Yeah. So it's like all these other horror films that people recognize, their roots lie in one, Psycho. I'm just going to throw that in there, and two, Black Christmas. But whereas those franchises became franchises because they knew how to market those sequels, how to bring people back. Clearly, Black Christmas just did not. It's not that property. It's certainly not become that property. And by doing this kind of remake for the second time, they're trying to treat it like that property, but all they're doing is trashing that original film. So legacy, there is none.
Yeah, I don't think a second remake is doing it any favors. because they screwed up the first remake, Black Xmas, and it's not like people are like, well, this is shit. Let me see what the original is about. You know, Black Christmas is still a cult movie as far as mainstream audiences are concerned. So
yeah, it's a deep cut.
yeah. So if this movie, I don't know, like this movie would have to really, really turn around and surprise people for them to even think, well, let me go back to the original. Like I don't see a legacy. Like it deserves one. It just doesn't have one, and it's not getting any favors.
If you're gonna do a remake, then I think this is one instance where doing the Gus Van Sant Psycho remake treatment would actually work well for it, because the majority of the audience that would go to see it will not have seen the original, and the people who have seen the original will be able to appreciate it and tell people, but now go and watch the original because this is how good it is. So, and then you could springboard off that and do a proper sequel that people will then be invested in, and you can use the same characters and the same. But trying to do a remake where it's not really a remake, it's just got the type. Yeah, you're just borrowing the name. All it does is annoy the original fans and not really convert any new ones. Yeah, so.
There's my thoughts.
All right, so next question. Wow, this is a bunch from Beth S. So favorite movies of your childhood, and do you still enjoy them as an adult?
Some of them, yes. Like some of my favorite movies as a child is Lost Boys, The Thing, Terminator 2, Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors, Child's Play. Like those are ones that still hold up for me. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's some that are more like kids centric, like maybe some of the Disney movies or something like that I watched as a kid, where as an adult I'm like, ooh, wow. Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves isn't as good as I remembered it being. Like something like that. So there's a few where that that little bit of gap there, and there's some movies like I'm sure Brian's going to bring up one MS that. There's some movies that you hold in high regard, and then you go a very long time without revisiting it. So you don't keep that nostalgia necessarily, and the memories kind of blind you, and then you watch it and you're like, oh wow, yeah. I can't think of any that are like horrible now, but a lot of my favorite movies as a kid are movies that most kids did not watch, so they definitely hold up for me.
Likewise, for the most part, but something we just recently rewatched. The Gate was something that I thought was incredible as a kid, and watched it over and over again, and came back to it recently. Like, no, this is awful. 10-year-old me, what is wrong with you? This is not that good.
I wouldn't say it was awful.
Well, right, but like I would watch it religiously. I would watch it like maybe 10 times a year as a kid, because it was always like on cable or something, and I would, it's on again, leave it on. And
you just sparked the answer for me, and it goes along with the movies that hold up for me. Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. That at one point in my childhood was my favorite Nightmare film, and it was the one that I watched the most because it was the most zany. You know, it's a very flamboyant movie. It's very, it's an entertaining movie, but it's just balls to the wall. I watched it as an adult, and I'm going, oh god, this is where it went downhill. And I can still enjoy it for the most part for what it is, but it's such a bitter pill when I watch it as an adult because I know what came from it.
Brian, you're
having problems, Brian?
Yeah, my TV's telling me it's just about to shut down.
Your TV?
Yeah.
You're on the internet, buddy. What are you doing on your TV?
Yeah, never mind.
I think that's what he's using as his monitor.
Oh, I see. And yes, I was going to say The Gate, so you got me, Felix.
Do you want to answer the question while you're working with it, Brian, or do you want us to move on?
Yeah, I'll answer. Hang on. Just one moment. Get off. Right. Okay. So, where were we? So,
movies that you watch as a child that doesn't hold us.
So, Monster Squad to me as a child was the Citizen Kane of my youth. And I watched it about 20 or 30 times when I was a kid, just lapping up every minute. I watched it about a year ago, and
Hmm.
oh man, that film's crap. So bad,
Split
so
Second. What about Split Second? Is that a?
yeah, Split Second's another one. I bought Split Second as a gift for CP. Uh,
Thanks. I needed a coaster.
yeah, these days I would buy that film as a gift for my worst enemy. If I don't like you, you'll be getting a copy of Split Second in the post. Um, but yeah, I still have a bit of nostalgia for Split Second.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I would still rather watch Split Second over Monster Squad, quite frankly.
Wow.
But
Wow. Okay.
but it is bad. It's really bad. No, but I've been meaning to do a tag video to start up a tag video for a while now, and I've been trying to do like the top 10 movies when I was 14. So I want people to do like videos of like put yourself back in your 14-year-old self
Mm.
and do your top 10 movies, as you know, and it's like
Oh, ugh.
if
Get
I
it going, man. Let's
yeah,
roll.
yeah, like but if I did my top 10 movies when I was 14, you would find True Romance in there, the first two Tim
Oh, yeah.
Burton Batmans, Terminator 2, Terminator, Critters, Highlander, Monster Squad. So yeah, so like that was kind of like yeah, my top 10 way back when. Um, and now I would say that maybe only two of those appear in my top 20 of all time now. So yeah, but yeah, I still like most of the films. Well, I still like all of the films I just reeled off then, except for Monster Squad. So cool beans.
Yeah.
Um, what movie would you like to completely erase from your memory?
Freddy's dead.
Sausage Party.
Next.
Huh.
Anything like Rob Zombie, really, I guess.
Loquacia. Yeah. I'll double that. Best or worst theater going experience?
Dark
Best
Knight.
for me. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
Just Dark Knight was the best. So like when I used to work at a cinema. I was a projectionist, and Dark Knight. So basically, I worked at the cinema in Warrington, and there was a staff screening at the cinema in Manchester. So that's like you're talking like if you drive by the legal limit, you're talking about 25-minute drive to get from one cinema to the next. I got there in 12 minutes, and because it was a midnight showing, and I finished my shift at 11:45. And basically, there was a few people who came with me, and they wanted to go to the showing, and I said, look, if you're not stood by my car by 11:45 when I clock off, I'm just going without you, so don't
Oh,
expect me to wait.
it's a good mentality to have, Brian.
Yeah. So
If you're not
so-
ready to go at showtime,
yes, CP. When you have the day when you've got kids, come
Bah.
and talk to him.
never
Yeah.
happened.
So I get to my car just after 11:45, and we are in our seats at the cinema in Manchester 1 minute before midnight. So yeah, I broke some laws in order to do that, but man alive,
well.
it was well worth it. Best experience I've ever had. Just like everyone was talking beforehand, and I had that kind of feeling where I was a bit, oh man, I really hope they don't talk through this because it's just going to annoy me. But as soon as that film started, everyone shut up, and they reacted to all the bits in the film the way that I just truly believe they were meant to. You know, the reactions, like the pencil trick and all that, got the the correct response, and it was just you could feel it. You could feel the energy, the buzz. Like it was just, and as a Batman fan, just feeling that they've got it right in so many ways. It was just, I went to see that film another 8 times after that at the cinema. It's the most I've ever seen a film at the cinema, but yeah, just great experience.
CP?
Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Just waiting and waiting and waiting and being happy because I managed a movie theater when 1, 2, and 3 came out. Actually, I only worked at the theater when 1, 2, and 3 came out. 1. I managed it for 3, and I shut the place down because I wanted to see 3 proper, and made sure that we used to get prints early, big stuff like Lord of the Rings. We had to test it, and Star Wars we had, I think, 3 days early, and I was making sure that we were going to watch that, and that was frustrating because it wasn't, all my expectations of all my childhood just kind of, oh, okay, well that's it then, huh? And only to be redeemed and to be there on opening night and have that again, like that samey feel that, I'm way too young to experience the original Star Wars in the theater, but to go in a packed house and people just going bonkers over the damn Lucasfilm logo and just cheering just because Han Solo is on screen, and it was awesome. It like the fact that it was a good movie kind of helped too. Like I'm fanboying out, and I make fun of every Marvel kid. Like during the Avengers, either Endgame or Infinity War, I would look at Emily and roll my eyes like, oh, okay, all right, I get it. But that's me for Star Wars. Like, yeah, hey, look, it's the guy with the thing. But yeah, no, Force Awakens, absolutely.
My best is probably Endgame. That was just incredible. Like all the fan service moments, just the whole theater. It was like a sporting event. Everybody was just like, yeah. Like I've never been to a movie like that where it felt normal to get up and cheer over and over and over again. Worst, I'm going to name 2, and I'll try to go into them quickly. One of them I think I've talked about before on live streams, which was Lights Out. The woman directly in front of me, every single time that a jump scare was about to happen, we've all seen enough horror movies where you get that feeling that it's about to be a scare. The music swells down, the movie slows, you see cameras pan. Every single time, from my perspective, she would open up her phone. It'd be this bright-ass screen coming to me. She would open up Snapchat and she would record the scare scene, and then after the scare scene she would add emojis in Lights Out, blah blah blah, so scary, and then send it the entire fucking movie, and it drove me nuts. The other one I had was with Us, which was not nearly as bad, but I made way more of a scene.
Is that because you had to watch a film by Jordan Peele?
Yeah. So there was a couple right next to me that were those moviegoers that like to discuss what's happening on screen while it happens on screen. Oh. So like somebody gets stabbed and they're like, "Oh man, she just stabbed her!" And they would predict where things were going to go, and they were doing it the whole movie. And by the 45-minute mark, they were next to me, and I did this. I was like, and I just kind of stared at him for like a good 10 seconds. And then they got quiet, and I was like, hopefully that was nice enough. So then I started watching the movie again, and by the last, right when the White family was getting killed, they started talking, doing it again, that whole scene, and we have the reclining seats in my theater, mm-hmm. and they're kind of loud if the movie's not having a big action sequence. So I was like, and then I let my leg one down, and I grabbed my drink and I stomped off to the other side of the theater where there was an empty seat, and I sat down and watched the rest of the movie. So that was a rough one. So those are my answers.
I was watching Brooklyn, and I was actually really enjoying the film, but it was just being ruined throughout by this guy who was sat just kind of like, when you see him on the periphery,
Yep.
and he had the squeakiest bloody shoes.
Oh, Brian.
And it's
Oh,
just like
ASMR Brian.
it's just like
he was chewing popcorn the whole fucking time.
I did a rant video on it on my channel because it's just like this guy could not keep his feet still, and he had the
Yeah.
squeakiest shoes, and he was with like his wife or something, and it's just like I almost like kind of I almost kind of looked at her and went, "How can you deal with that? You know, how can you sit there and put up with that while I'm trying to watch the film? Because it's doing my head in." And yeah, like you, eventually I just had to get up and move. But it's just like, it's one of them situations where you're pretty sure the person doing it has no clue that what they're doing is really annoying. But it's just like the guy, his feet were just like, it's like they're just moving constantly. But his shoes were so flipping squeaky. It was just, yeah.
See, we had an experience like that, but thankfully, the loud person decided to. There was a louder because there was a girl. We were like 2 rows back. We were watching Annihilation, and there's a girl in front of us. So, like, if the further back you are, the more you could see because there were recliner chairs. So the rows are a bit deeper. This girl is on her cell phone, just during the third act of perhaps the most mesmerizing sci-fi film in the last 5 or 10 years. And then she would giggle and then hold her phone up, and then the guy this guy was hemming and hawing, trying his best to get their attention, and he goes, "Enough with the fucking phone!" And then she turned around and they giggled to each other, and that was it. It was like, yeah, man, yeah, thank you.
I had a guy do that in The Last Jedi, and it was like literally the opening crawl, like da, 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 and the guy was sitting there on the phone, and it was like maybe the first or second row, and the guy was in a row by me. He goes, "Dude, get the fuck off your phone! You're watching Star Wars." Bald guy, third row. Everybody was like,
I did that once. I really lost my cool with these two guys that was sat down towards the front, and they like one of them literally answered his phone during the film and starts talking on it, taking this call, and I proper lost it, and I swore, and like just really. And the two guys they went quiet, and then about 20 seconds later they stood up. They started to walk up. I suddenly realised they were both much bigger than I was.
Yeah.
Started
Never
bricking
mind.
it a bit, but they carried on walking past, went out through the door, and that's it. They didn't come back, and I was half expecting once the film had finished and I left, they'd be there waiting for me, but they hadn't. They genuinely just gone. So I must have been. Sometimes I think when you get in such a rage, your conviction comes through, and people believe it, I guess. Yeah, they got up and left. But I'm glad they left and didn't decide actually we're gonna kick this guy in, because yeah, they were much bigger than I was. So.
Yeah, that's why I don't speak up, because
well, that's if somebody asked that in the chat, why not say something? And it's not so much that, it's not that I'm afraid of confrontation. What I am always afraid of in most situations, which makes me not want to really attack somebody if they're really pissing me off, is that everybody else around me might not even be bothered by it, and then suddenly I'm the distraction for everybody. Especially if they say something back, like, "What are you going to do about it?" Then all of a sudden it's this thing where now you're the center of the theater. So that's what I don't want to ruin everybody else's experience. So that's what always it's hard. It's hard to hold on to that sometimes. And sometimes I want to be like, "Fuck you," but it's hard. I'll say one more thing too. Just
crinkle some more, Brian, please. Crinkle.
Yeah. One of the scariest things that I ever had happen in a movie experience was when me and Holly went to go see Hell or High Water. It finally came to a limited release in Savannah. I had it hyped up. I thought it was going to be awesome. It ended up being one of my favorite films that year, so it was awesome. But the last 15 minutes of the movie, these two guys walked in that were not there the entire time. They looked up at everybody in the theater, One of them walked up and sat at the opposite corner of the theater, and one of them sat down at the very opposite down row. And this is in the middle of time, like it's still kind of going on in America, but this was in the middle of like theater shootings and stuff like that. I saw that and I was like, we have to leave. I was like, I'm gonna miss the end of this fucking movie because I felt like something was gonna happen. It was so weird that they kind of scoped out the whole theater and then got all of everybody in there like between the two of them. So me and Holly went and we stood like in the little hallway where you see like the seat row down, and we watched the last 10 or 15 minutes of the movie standing there, and then fucking hightailed it. Nothing ever happened, so I don't know what the hell they were doing, but it was so terrifying trying to pay attention to the movie while like looking at them like, what the fuck is going on? What are they doing?
I've had moments like that. I had during Midsummer. It was like 20 minutes into the movie, and then these two people come in and they make their way down to the middle. This woman pulls out the torch on her phone and she's like,
flashlight.
Yeah, proper like lightsaber in people's faces.
Well, we don't know what torch means over here.
Oh,
I was just
yeah, proper, yeah, being a dick. Yeah, so they proper like flashing people's faces with it, going down this aisle, squeezing past everyone. Everyone's having to shuffle, like literally 20 minutes into the film. And then they go to this couple that are sat there and they're like, you're in our seats. And this person, so these people are like, no, we're not. And they're like, yeah, we are. See, look, these are our seats, 17 and 16. So there's people stand up and are looking at the seats and get the light on it. He goes, that's screen 5, you're in screen 7. So then they're like, oh, sorry. And then it's like making the way back down. It's like, we're 20 minutes in here, and it's like the fact that the film is playing should be a clue to the fact that you're in the wrong screen.
This doesn't look like Toy Story at all.
Fucking people.
All right, last question.
All right.
Regarding Dr. Sleep, I think Kubrick's
There you
work
go,
was
Brian.
untouchable. I just don't like the idea of a modern big studio adding to its lore. It seems really risky. Like adding a scarf to the Mona Lisa. I'd love to hear that discussed. That is from Dr. Dead.
Take it away, Mr. Lomax.
The thing that I find most amusing is that Stephen King has given this film his absolute blessing, and yet he was appalled
He
by
hates it.
Kubrick's. He hates Kubrick's film. He hates what Kubrick did with The Shining, and yet the trailers for this film are using Kubrick's iconic imagery in order to sell it, in order to, if King is giving this film his blessing, then I would have thought it was because it was distancing itself from that original film. But no, I'm cautiously optimistic. I, like you, I believe that The Shining is an absolute masterpiece. I'm a Kubrick fan. I've reviewed all of his movies on my channel. He's one of my favourite directors. He'd be on my Mount Rushmore of directors. The Shining is probably my favourite horror film of all time. So, yeah, I love it. But same thing I say with any time like this when they do a sequel to a classic or a remake or a whatever. It's if it's crap, it's crap. We don't need to watch it again. We've still got the original.
Yep.
If it's great. So that's So I'm going to go into it with an open mind. I hope it's good. I like the trailer so far. Mike Flanagan seems to be pretty reliable. I've not seen House. Is it House on Haunted Hill or
Haunting of Hill House?
The Haunting of Hill House? I've not seen that, but all the word of mouth I've heard from it is that it's absolutely blinding and very Kubrickian. So who knows? It might be good. I'm excited enough for it.
I think it's safe to say that The Shining might be one of the most celebrated, iconic horror films of all time. And this is spoken purely out of admitted ignorance because I have not read the book. I feel like the movie is more well known than the book, and the movie is almost more celebrated than the book. So I've always felt like maybe that's what King's issue was, is maybe he felt like the movie improved
The
upon his
ending's
book and
different.
took issue
Yeah.
with that. Because I know the miniseries is more book accurate and everybody hates it.
Hmm.
So uh, I feel like for the movie to succeed, whether or not King gave it its blessing or not, which is very ironic, they almost have to reference Kubrick's film, because if you start showing imagery from the Overlook Hotel and it does not look like the Overlook Hotel that everybody sees in their mind when you think of that, and you think of the imagery of The Shining, then you're automatically you're behind the wheel. You know, I mean, you're having a movie. It's a sequel to a classic, which is already kind of a risky thing in and of itself. If you're not preying on that nostalgia and that love and that celebration of that original film, The Shining, then I feel like that would be a bitch to market. You know what I mean? Like that's most of what gets me excited. When I see the trailer for Doctor Sleep, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. I haven't seen the most recent trailer, so I don't know if they got into it more, but the trailer they showed before, I have no idea what's going on. I see red rum, I see the hallways, and I see things that remind me of that original film, and that's what gets me excited.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's going to ruin the legacy at all, like what Brian was saying, to actually answer the question.
Yeah.
I subscribe to that same thing. Like I'm more pro remake than a lot of people. Yes, a lot of them aren't very good, but I will always celebrate it if they're doing it the right way, not like Black Christmas, because you have nothing to lose as a fan. You have absolutely nothing to lose. If Doctor Sleep is great, you have another awesome film, and you have something that hopefully expands on a classic. If it's shit, you still have The Shining, and you don't have to watch it again. It takes nothing away from that film.
Yeah. If you're automatically against remakes, then you get rid of Ben-Hur, you get rid of The Thing, you get rid of Scarface, you
The
get
Fly.
rid of so many. Yeah, you get rid of The Fly. So many great classics.
Black Xmas. Oh,
Oh,
Pet
Always have a
Cemetery.
lower tone and-
she'd be giving you the business.
but yeah. So, and you know,
Magnificent Seven.
but just more recently, and I mean, yesterday actually, I watched 2010, the 2001, which I actually thought was pretty decent. No, it's not obviously not up there with Kubrick's original, but they did a pretty respectable job there. If they can do something akin to that, I'll be happy. But a more recent example, Blade Runner 2049. I'd have said Blade Runner is untouchable. You don't do a sequel to Blade Runner. It's just a no-no. It's such a classic. I like Blade Runner 2049.
I agree. I like it more
than Blade Runner.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it more than Blade, and that's as someone who thinks that's someone who holds Blade Runner up there. It's so yeah. There's always that chance that you'll get Blade Runner 2049. I'm happy enough for them to take that chance. So we'll see. We'll see when it comes.
CP, any
Yeah,
thoughts?
some combination of the words that you guys said. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. That was our final question, though.
Yep, yeah, that was it.
Well, guys, I think this was a hell of an episode. I'm excited for where we're at. So, that's it. That's the end of the first episode of AutopStream, guys. So, huge thanks to everybody that watched. The super chats were massive, much appreciated. Like I said at the beginning, I cannot thank you guys enough for the support that you've given us in recent times with all the stuff we've been dealing with the changes that we've had to endure, championing us, getting this stream together. Huge thanks to Brian and CP and Lindsay, because we've had it's been tough. It's been tough for obvious reasons, but it's also been tough just creatively kind of getting where we want this stream to go, how we want to be different, how we want to be the same. And just judging off of how this first episode went about, a couple small technical hiccups that hopefully we'll iron out the kinks before long. But other than that, I think this is a hell of a success. And just off one episode, I'm pretty proud of what we got. So I'm excited to do another one. So
kudos to the chat too for being civil and adult-ish about everything.
Yes, yes.
Moving forward. We're moving forward.
Exactly. I'm glad we didn't have to address that. I was worried about how many times that was going to come up. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
that's that. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to everybody that sent in questions. Much like when we do Q&As, please don't take offense if we didn't pick your question. It doesn't mean that your question sucked or we just don't like you or anything like that. It is we designed this whole ending of this show specifically because we want to pick the questions that we can have the most discussion with. So you might have had a good question for one of us that two of us had nothing to add to. So keep sending them in. Like I said, the email address is autopstream@gmail.com. Hopefully we'll see you again very soon. We're going to try to do it every 2 weeks or so, but it's all going to depend on our schedules. We got 3 very different lives, very different schedules. Not just Brian, but yes. So thank you guys so much, and I guess we'll see you next time.